Another big storm will be impacting the United States as we go into next week, and this is going to bring more severe weather to areas like the Midwest and as well as the Ohio Valley, where damaging winds, large hail, and even a few tornadoes will all be possibilities. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you can expect today and tomorrow in terms of severe weather, and why this weather pattern is about to completely change in the United States from a very active weather pattern in the Great Plains, turning into more of an active weather pattern for the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and as well as East Coast. So let's begin with what's happening today in terms of severe weather and go day by day and give you an idea of what's going to be happening here for the next several days. We're going to begin again with today, where we do have a large slight risk from South Dakota back into West Texas, where that's going to be the greatest concentration for severe weather today, where damaging winds, some large to very large hail, and maybe even an isolated tornado or two will all be possibilities. In addition to that, we do have a large marginal threat from South Dakota back over into parts of the Dixie Alley and a small sliver there of the Ohio Valley, where some sporadic hail and wind events will be possible. Nothing too out of the ordinary, just your typical, summer variety type of storms there, with hail and wind being possibilities. The main concern for today is going to be the potential for large to very large hail. A couple areas to watch out for, one of which in the hill country of Texas and as well as southeast New Mexico, and the other which back over northeast Colorado, western Nebraska, northwestern Kansas, where very large hail will be a possibility. We could see a couple of storms producing hail upwards of 3 inches in diameter. The tornado risk for today, it's another low-end day for tornadoes. I'm really not expecting much when it comes to this. Yesterday we had like one brief tornado over near Brady, Texas, and that was it. I think it's gonna be a very similar day today in terms of the setup, just an isolated brief tornado or two. If things get a little bit dicey though, we'll go live on the channel, so make sure that you're subscribed down below. We'll also add actually a tornado in Nebraska. I believe that might have been a land spout though back over in parts of eastern Nebraska as well from yesterday. Now in terms of the threat tomorrow, the threat is actually going to start to shift more to the north, as we're going to have a large scale trough coming out of the Pacific Ocean. This will eventually lead to more of an organized threat for severe weather on Sunday back over in the central and northern plains. And notice even areas like Louisiana, North Texas, southern Texas, those areas are not in a risk for severe weather for the first time in legitimately like 4 or 5 days. It's been a very long stretch of weather here across much of the southern plains, and we are probably glad, at least for many of us, to see a breakdown there, as the threat will start to shift to the north, where another slight risk is in play, with damaging winds being the main concern. There will also be a potential for some large hail and an isolated tornado. The greatest concern for wind right now is going to be in Nebraska and northwestern Kansas, where we could have some damaging winds as high as 80 miles per hour, so make sure that you're hatching down trampolines and protecting any loose lawn items. In terms of the tornado risk, a couple different areas, one of which will be in central Nebraska and northern Kansas, and another very low threat back over in North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota. Again, if things start to trend a little bit more concerning here, we might go live, so make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. And for the timing today, we're going to be dealing with some showers and storms in a variety of areas, basically. One of which will be the Gulf Coast, where storms will fire up early this afternoon with mostly wind and hail. High Plains will also deal with the same sort of threat. We could see some storms initiate near DFW this afternoon, and large hail and damaging winds are the main concern. As we go throughout the afternoon, those storms continue to push east back over in West Texas, again in the High Plains, and also back over near the Gulf Coast. Those storms will begin to fizzle. We'll have another cluster back over in northern Oklahoma being possible. Anything out of that will be mostly wind, and eventually this evening we could get a mesoscale convective system going into Sunday morning. That could cause some problems with more wind being possible. Right now there's no risk of severe weather here, but it does look like there is at least a chance for some showers and thunderstorms that again could produce a damaging wind threat, but things still remain a little bit uncertain. Mesoscale convective systems like that one are a bit harder to predict, even being 24 hours out. Here's what we're looking at in the central plains for today. More showers and thunderstorms this morning in Nebraska. This afternoon, storms will initiate in a couple different areas. The main area will be over in western Kansas and Colorado, and the second area back over in northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas, where more large hail and damaging winds will be possible, and maybe an isolated tornado. Things really dry out overnight tonight, and by Sunday we'll be dealing with another cluster of storms back over in Nebraska, where some of these storms here could produce some significant damaging winds. So we may activate a live stream for that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Here's what we're looking at up in the northern plains. Today looks pretty quiet. Tomorrow though, we'll have a line of storms developing as we go into the late afternoon. This will be a pretty significant damaging wind threat. Numerous damaging winds possible, up to 60 to 75 miles per hour. By the overnight hours, those storms move into Minnesota. Damaging winds continue to be the main concern, with maybe an isolated spin up, and eventually as we go into Monday morning, those storms will be moving into Wisconsin, which will lead to our next threat of severe weather weather, which will be on Monday. Now, as we go into next week, things become a bit easier to forecast, which might sound kind of weird, but overall the weather pattern that we've been dealing with has been this zonal flow, which really just kind of gives us these, outbreaks of storms, if you will, across the central and southern plains and the high plains. This has been allowing for that threat to really continue for the last several days now, but as we go into next week, the storm activity is really going to begin to shift further to the north. Notice this as we go into Monday. We're going to have a little low pressure system kind of go across the northern plains. This will not be our main low pressure system, but this will be the one that brings some showers and even some severe weather to areas in the northern plains and the upper Midwest for both Sunday and as well as into Monday. By Tuesday, though, we're going to have a much more organized low pressure system enter the United States, a bit more of a meridional flow, which means more curvature in the jet stream. And as we go into late Tuesday into Wednesday, we get this organized jet streak back over in the Pacific Northwest. This should eventually allow for this low pressure system to bring some sort of severe weather event to the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. Right now, though, even though it's a negatively tilted trough, it does not look overly organized for a full-blown severe weather outbreak, like a major tornado outbreak, for example. But there is definitely a possibility that we could get at least some sort of small-scale severe weather outbreak either on Tuesday, Wednesday, or maybe even Thursday across parts of the Midwest or the Ohio Valley. Notice, by the way, we're going to have this high pressure system back over in the southwest, a low pressure system below that, low pressure system up here. Very interesting weather pattern setting up here, and this should allow for the southwest to actually really get a big heat wave over that direction. Meanwhile, showers and storms will be very active across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, into Thursday. And as we go into Friday into Saturday of next weekend, it looks like that low pressure system will just kind of be sitting there over the upper Midwest and into parts of Canada. This will allow for that jet streak to be right over parts of the Ohio Valley, and most of any shower and thunderstorm activity will be here in the Northeast. But if we can get any low pressure systems to kind of kick on the back side of this, we could get some more showers and thunderstorms in the Midwest. While things in the southern plains won't be completely dry, we will still have at least a bit more of a lull when it comes to severe weather in general. So that's at least some good news with this particular severe weather setup and as well as this weather pattern. Now, with all that being said, the instability is going to be one of the biggest driving factors over the next several days. This is what we're looking at as we go into like today and tomorrow, for example. Notice the instability just really hugging back down in the central and southern plains. But as we go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that instability starts to really lift to the north, creating a more unstable environment, leading to more showers and thunderstorms. And with the particular setup that we're going to have here in this jet stream, we could actually end up seeing some of these lines of storms pushing across parts of the central and northern plains and the Midwest with this particular jet stream, setup here across the United States. So I just want to throw that out there. And with all this instability, that'll kind of fuel that potential as well. That really leads to more of these mesoscale convective systems. And in some cases, we can sometimes get derechos as well. So something to keep in mind. As we go into the weekend, though, look at that instability. This is by Thursday. Notice that instability access really only back up into parts of the Northeast, like the Ohio Valley, and also back over in the southern plains. But look at this by Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of next weekend. That instability is all the way back down into the southern plains, and things will quiet down probably again as we go into next weekend, which is great news. Now, overall, we're not looking at a widespread tornado outbreak or anything like that in the Midwest, I think, at least for Tuesday and Wednesday, but these are the hodographs giving you an idea of the spin in the atmosphere, and there should just be enough spin here that we could end up getting a couple of tornadoes, but it does not appear as if it's going to be a major outbreak on Tuesday, and even on Wednesday, things do not look super duper concerning, even over in the Ohio Valley. There will be some spin there for sure. There will definitely be enough there for a couple of tornadoes. It just, again, does not appear as if there will be some sort of outbreak there, which is great news. Looks like we'll not be live too many times this week, but maybe once or twice over the next 7 days. Again, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Let's go day by day and give you an idea of what's going to be happening over the next few days on the future radar. Notice as we go into Sunday, showers and storms will be possible across the Great Plains. Back over in the Ohio Valley, we'll have some sporadic showers, but nothing crazy. It'll just kind of be a little bit active over there, a bit muggy. Once we go into Monday, those storms will start to move back over into the Midwest, where isolated severe weather will be possible. Once we go into late Monday into Tuesday, we're eventually going to get that low pressure system ejecting over the northern plains, and this will eventually allow for some severe weather back over in the upper Midwest and again the northern plains on Tuesday. Eventually Tuesday night into Wednesday, we could get a full-blown potentially at least a squall line or something along those lines, at least a mesoscale convective system that'll produce some damaging winds, and that could be numerous to even that potentially even widespread as we go into late Tuesday into Wednesday across parts of the Midwest. But again, exact details do remain a bit uncertain there. Tornado risk does look low at this time. By the time we go into Wednesday, storms will start to move further to the east into the Northeast and as well as the Ohio Ohio Valley. By the time we go into Thursday into Friday, it looks active over in the northeast, a little bit more active as we go into Friday into Saturday across the southern and central plains as well. And notice as we go into Sunday into Monday of next week, things become pretty uncertain, but it does appear as if it'll start to get a little bit more active back down in the southern plains, where some showers, thunderstorms, and maybe even a couple of isolated severe weather events will return. Look at the lightning density, by the way, as we go into Tuesday into Wednesday. It does appear as if we're going to get some big events back over in the Midwest, at least on Tuesday, which could lead to, again, maybe a more numerous to even possibly widespread threats for some damaging winds. So make sure you're staying tuned to the channel, and we'll keep you posted with the latest.